All right, guys, so check out this crazy public meeting. This comes from the town of Webster, New York. Notably, this is the same jurisdiction where the corrupt district attorney, Sandra Doorley, resides over. You will remember that Sandra Doorley is the district attorney who got pulled over for doing 55 and a 35. The interaction actually took place inside her garage because she would not stop for the officer who was attempting to pull her over. You will remember that she tried to talk her way out of that ticket, and she also had a little bit of a verbal sparring match with this police officer. She called the officer all kinds of names, and she ended up calling his chief to try to get out of that situation. And she just had a very bad attitude about the whole situation. She was totally out of line, and the internet got that footage and did what the internet does. Well, in any event, in any jurisdiction, they will have a county council, they will have a county commissioner, they will have a board of people who are elected to manage that jurisdiction. And Webster, New York is no exception to the rule. So in any event, they had their recent public meeting, and at that public meeting, the citizens are allowed to have public comment. And in this case, there was quite a number of people who wanted to show up and give their opinion, give a piece of their mind as it relates to Sandra Doorley and this whole situation surrounding this traffic stop. So with that, guys, you are going to see and hear these individuals, these residents of Webster, New York, and they are going to give their opinion of what they think about this whole situation. So with that, guys, check out this video from a public meeting in Webster, New York, where the residents show up and give a piece of their mind as it relates to the Sandra Doorley traffic stop situation. With that, guys, Levi Trumbull reporting in a nice wooded area in Frederick County, Maryland, and we'll catch you guys very soon.
I am upset with District Attorney Doorley's behavior because it was disappointing. But what's more important than a polite district attorney is a district attorney who is tough on crime. And the City of Rochester and their affiliates are actively working against the public safety, which is the top priority of all the residents in Monroe County. And the City of Rochester, the Rochester City School District, the Democrat Committee, what they're doing is actively antagonizing and trying to break down the public safety apparatus by sending agent provocateurs, crisis actors, to our meetings to provoke and antagonize and generally harass us. So I'm just asking everybody to generally ignore the trolls who are here to, again, harass and antagonize us, and I'm sure by the end of the night they're going to prove my point.
Many people have been commenting on the patience and professionalism of the police who are involved. However, the response by the Webster Police is not something to celebrate, and in fact shows the corruption, favoritism, and white privilege that is endemic to systems of power. It's offensive to commend how any of the Webster police officers handled the situation when Sandra Doorley committed crimes and ethical violations. The officer who tried to pull over Sandra Doorley had zero control of the situation. Sandra Doorley went into her house and her car over and over despite repeatedly being asked not to. No one from the chief to the supervisor to any of the officers responding, none of them said she needed to be arrested, even though she committed crimes that warranted arrest. The chief of police even told the officer that it was up to him whether to ticket Doorley. Compare the way the Webster Police did basically nothing in the face of Sandra Doorley breaking numerous laws, including endangering the public with speeding and refusing to stop for a police officer. Compare that inaction and preferential treatment from the Webster Police to the excessive force and brutality the Webster Police inflicted upon peaceful protesters just a few years ago when they were speaking out against, ironically, disproportionate and preferential policing and systemic racism. The illegal and unethical behavior of Sandra Doorley and the permissive preferential response from the Webster Police proves the point. The Webster Police are just as complicit in the abuse of power we all witnessed from Sandra Doorley, and they need to be held accountable as well.
The Webster Police Chief and responding officers did not properly enforce the laws and ordinances passed by representatives of the people of Webster. In fact, they knowingly disregarded those laws and ordinances to help Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley avoid accountability for her crimes and abuse her authority, thereby undermining confidence that the enforcement of those laws is equal in the town of Webster.
I'm here tonight to talk about the blatant abuse of power that Sandra Doorley displayed as the district attorney and the grace that she was shown by the Webster Police Department. In 2020, as the town supervisor knows, we protested at the corner down the street, and we were not shown that same grace. All we had were cardboard signs and a megaphone, and the Webster PD jumped out on us and arrested some of our comrades. However, in this case, they allowed Sandra to not only not stop, but to pull in her driveway, get out her car, curse out the officers, and then prosecute herself for a ticket, because that's what she did. She wasn't arrested. We got arrested, and my comrades had to deal with those tickets in the Webster court for a year.
A few years ago, when I was arrested on a wrongfully issued warrant, where Rochester Court got my appearance date wrong, we got a preliminary answer in the affirmative. The Webster Police Department had invited the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to help police a peaceful protest in support of Black lives. The protest itself was prompted by disproportionate police responses to other peaceful protests, where, for example, pedestrians were cited for jaywalking despite crossing the street with the light. In a police state, holding a sign that is objectionable to the police can make one subject to arrest. Despite being told that Rochester got my appearance date wrong and being provided documentation to that effect, I got a free ride downtown, and I got strip searched on the way into jail. Not on my bucket list then or now is having to strip down and have a sworn officer of the law look up my butthole because a city court got a date wrong. And if that comment makes you uncomfortable, I challenge you to imagine the discomfort of having those indignities visited on you by armed agents of the state. A word of caution to those who celebrate those interventions by the police. They hinder your freedom. Either you express a thought that contravenes the will of the state, or more likely you limit your thoughts and expressions to those that are palatable to the state. Either way, freedom suffers in a police state.
So I think everybody knows what happened is despicable. I think everybody in your minds and your hearts, you kind of recognize that something was questionable. Someone felt they were above the law. The question is, who is the town of Webster? You know, who are you guys? As a board, as a community, what are you gonna do about it? You know, are you gonna do like City Hall? Because City Hall kind of immediately went into a session. You know, they convened on the point that they were gonna get an investigation, you know, brought based upon this situation. They made that happen. Will the town of Webster do the same thing? Who is this town of Webster? This town of Webster, as it relates to the people in the board, the populace in general, cowards? Or a group of people that are going to be vigilant about making sure that the police chief, Sandra Doorley, whomever, or actors involved are actually held accountable, some pressure is put on them, and the good people that I bet all of you believe that you are actually are considering the work that you're doing related to this. Are you actually going to make a difference, make a change? Who are you?